Hello and welcome back to this channel. If you are new here and you're interested in web development, just click the subscribe button and let's move on. Today, we are going to build this profile card with just HTML and CSS. So get your laptops and your code editors ready and let's start building. In the VS Code workspace, all we need is an HTML document, a CSS file, and this background image. But you can use any background image you want. It's totally down to you. Back in the HTML document, type in the exclamation sign and press the tab key to generate this boilerplate. Change the title of the document to profile card. And when you refresh the page, it appears over here. Now add a link to the CSS file so that any styles you apply will be seen on the HTML document. Now go to the website of Font Awesome. And on the website, click on your kit. You go to your kit. And if you do not have one, create an account and add a kit. And when you click on the kit, you get a JavaScript code to paste in the head of your HTML document so that you can use the icons. So copy the code you see over here and paste it in the head of the HTML document. The next thing we'll do, go to Google Fonts because we'll be using a font family from the website Google Fonts. So search the font family Poppins, click on the font, and you get the code. And go to the import and copy this line you see over here and then paste it at the very top of your CSS file. And now everything is set. We can start creating the profile card. In the body, create a div section with a class name of card, and this will be the container. In this div, you create two sub div sections. The first one with the class name of credentials, and the second with the class name of card body. And these two divs will hold all the elements that will be contained in the profile card. In the credentials div, we create another div section with a class name of image. This will hold our image. So add an image element, and the source attribute should be the file path of the background we'll use. And add an alternate text. Initially, we add a width of 100 pixels to the image so that we can see it clearly. Now, outside the image div, but still in the credentials div, create another div section and give it a class name of info. In this info div, add an h2 element with the name of the person and add a p element with an inner text of front-end developer. And that will be it for the credentials div. Now we move into the card body div section. So in this card body div, create a div section with a class name of stats. And this start div will hold 3 different div sections. And each div section should contain an h3 element and a p element. So the first div section should be for the number of followers. The second for the number of projects. And the third or the last div section for the number of clients. Next, we add a button to the profile card. So outside the stats div, but still in the card body div, add a button element with an inner text of follow. And lastly, add another div section with a class name of links. And this links div would contain 4 anchor elements or 4 links to the user's social media. So we go into Font Awesome and copy the icon elements for the various social media platforms. So the first icon will be the LinkedIn. We copy and paste it inside the anchor element. And we do same for the second icon, which is GitHub. And the third will be the YouTube icon. And the last will be the Twitter icon. This is the final result of our HTML. In the CSS file, we'll first select all elements and reset the margin, the padding, and the box sizing. Then we target the body. So we set the font family to Poppins, which we copied earlier. Now we will centrally place the profile card. So we'll give the body a minimum height. We set the display to flex and we place it at the center with the justify content and the align items properties. Now we start the card div. So with the card class name, we give it a defined border so we can see it well. Give the card a definite width. And we set the display to flex to turn it into a Flexbox so that we can have better control over the items in the box, which are the credentials div and the card body div. We set the justify content property so there can be space between the 2 child elements of the card div. Set the align items property to center. And we give the items a gap of 10 pixels. Now we give the card a border radius 20 pixels. And we give it some defined box shadows. Now when we hover over the card, we increase the size by setting the transform property to scale by 1.05 and we add another box shadow. And we go back into the card declaration field and then we set the transition property. For the transform, we will have 0.3 seconds. And for the box shadow, we have 0.2 seconds. And this is what we have. Now we start the credentials div. So with my card class name, any descendants credentials class name, we first go into the card declaration block and we remove the borders. And now we add a border of 2 pixels solid to the credentials class div so we can see it. And we set the width to 50%, which will be 50% of the width of the card. And we turn it into a flex box. Define the flex direction to column and we align the items to the center. Now give it a definite background color of this color. And the text color should be set to white. Now remove the borders because we now have what we want. And we add a text shadow to the text in this credentials div. Now, since the left borders are not rounded like we want, we set the border top left radius. And the border bottom left radius. And we add a padding of 20 pixels. Now let's apply some styles to the image itself. So it's my credentials class name, any image class name, and any image element which is a descendant. You remove the width we initially set. And this time we set the width to 150 pixels. Likewise, the height. And we add a border of 5 pixels solid and a white color to make it bold and defined. And then we round in the picture. Now let's start the information below it. So it's my credentials class name, any info class name which is a descendant. Add a padding bottom and a text align center. Now let's start the H2 element and the P element inside this info div. So with my info class name, any H2 element, increase the font size a bit. And now with the P element, we also increase the font size. I think this will be it for the credentials div. Now we start the card body div. So with my card class name, any card body class name, we give it a defined border so we can see it clearly. And set the width to 50%. And turn it into a Flexbox. And you set the flex direction to column. Then we align items center. And we add some text shadows. Then we remove the border we set earlier. Now we start the stats div. So any card body class name, any stats class name which is a descendant, we add a border to it so we can see it clearly. And we set the width to 100%, which would be 100% of the card body div. And we turn this one also into a flexbox. And we set the justify content property to space evenly so that there can be equal space between all the flex items. We text align center. And we add a margin of 10 pixels. Then we remove the border. And we style the H3 elements and the P elements. So we increase the size of the H3 elements and we do same for the P elements. Next, we style the button. So with my card body class name, any buttons, give it a margin and increase the font size. I bolding the text in the button and add a padding, both a padding, vertical padding and horizontal padding. Now we set the border to none to remove the borders and add a border radius to rounding the corners. Set the cursor to pointer and add the background color, something similar to the credentials div background color. And the text color should be white. When we hover over the button, we deepen the background color. Then you add a box shadow. Go back into the button declaration field and add a transition for the background color, 0.2 seconds, and for the box shadow, 0.3 seconds. And when you click on the button, we decrease the size. Now we style the links. So with my card body class name, any length which is a descendant, give it a width of 100%. But first, we'll add a border of 2 pixels solid so we can see it well. Add a padding and return it into a Flexbox and set the justify content to center. Give the flex items a gap of 30 pixels and increase the font size. The next thing we'll do is to set the original colors for all the social media icons. So I'll do that real quick. So with my icons, when I hover over it, I scale it by 1.5 and add a transition of 0.3 seconds to the icons. And this is the final design of the profile card. And the next thing we'll do is to make it responsive for small screen sizes. So we add a media query for when the maximum width of the screen is 768 pixels. So when the screen falls within this screen dimension, for our card div, set the flex direction to column. And the width should be 80% and the border radius to 20 pixels. And we add a margin. And we set the overflow to hidden so that any overflowing content will be hidden. And with my card, any credentials, and also with my card, any card body. So for the 2 flex items inside, we set the width to 100%. So they will cover the total width of the card div itself. And with the credentials div, the border bottom left radius, we set it to 0 to remove it. And we add a padding of 20 pixels, 0. With my card body, we add a padding of 10 pixels to it. And now when you resize the width of the window or the viewport, we can see it's now responsive. So yeah, that's how to create a responsive profile card with just HTML and CSS. I hope this video helped you out, and if it did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and comment down below. See you in my next video.